Welcome back from the desk of low. Man, if you ain't tuned into this show, man, then you've been late, man. This show, man, everyone from Detroit, man, has a near and dear place on this show and a place in my heart. This gentleman right here doesn't need no introduction, but we're gonna give him one anyway, man, because he deserves it right here. Man, he's a staple into the Detroit hip hop scene. He came up many times in my show in the early on days, man. We had some funny stories of some past guys. Shout out to my guys Marv One, Fat Cat. Man, this guy right here, man, he's celebrating his 10th year anniversary with his label, man. And man, what can I say, man? He was friends with one of the greats, Jay Dilla, but he also has his own legacy as well, too. And I got the one and only DJ House Shoes.
Salute. Appreciate you having me, brother.
I appreciate you coming, man. How you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm full, man. I ate a bunch of Korean barbecue. I had to delay this shit about 20 minutes to let my food go down. Jesus Christ.
One thing I like about
Stuff,
you,
man.
one thing I always liked about you, you always spoke your mind and you're very blunt. So you're free to speak your mind on here, sir.
No doubt, no doubt.
So I want to take it back. I was curious. You had a radio show in '96 at Henry Ford Community College called Beats and Radio. I was wondering if you could take me back.
Beats and breaks. Yeah, beats and breaks. Yep.
Beats and breaks. Can you take me back for those days?
Yeah, I mean, I actually had a radio show in high school also at WSHJ on 88.3. But that was like 5 years prior, probably.
Okay.
Beats and Breaks was the homie Josh Lang's show at Henry Ford Community College. And I think we met at Street Corner at the record shop at Street Corner Music. And I pulled up one day and the rest is history. You know, every Saturday afternoon from, I think it was 12 to 3. Yeah, all vinyl. We played Heat, you know, underground hip hop. That was prime time for that shit. And Saturdays were crazy because I would wake up on a Saturday and I would go to Street Corner and I would pick up a check to go to the Angot Distribution, which is our mom and pop's record distributor. And for those that don't know what a mom and pop's record distributor is, it's a local distributor that services wholesale to the local retail shops. So I would get a check from them and go pick up like the fill-in order for everything that would sell out during the week. Take the shipment back to the shop, go do Beats and Breaks with Josh, and leave the radio station, go to the hip hop shop.
Now,
That's the day after St. Andrews, and we got Friday night St. Andrews the night before. So weekends were fucking nuts back in the day.
Now, was it just like all just like songs, or did you do interviews back then too?
No, we had interviews. It's funny how your mind can fuck shit up over the years because
Oh, yeah.
I swear to God, I swore it was two different shows, but on the same show, we had JD and Eminem.
Okay, wow.
It was the first time Eminem ever was on the radio. The first time he ever freestyled on the radio. He was there with Pacewon and Denon on the second half of the show. And, you know, we was on Dilla's head every week, like, man, pull up, let's talk. You know, shit is starting to pop off. And he finally pulled up that day. And we interviewed him on the first half of the show. And then Pace, M, and Bizarre freestyled on the second half of the show.
Do you archive like a lot of your old like mixes back then, like with the interviews as well?
None of them.
Oh man.
Some of the homies had tapes. You know what I mean? I got footage. I got footage of that show. I mean, you've seen snippets of the footage. They showed it in the, you know, in the Hulu joint, the Dilla joint, and I think they showed some of it on the hip hop show on Netflix. Hip hop, whatever the fuck it was called. They did like 3 seasons. But yeah, man, crazy fucking times. I swear to God, it was 2 different days. But then the homie sent me the footage, and I was like, "Fuck, same episode." You know, head and shoulders of the city.
So
Years before anybody knew what the fuck any of that shit meant. You know what I mean?
so like even like back then, like I heard a lot of your stories. I even asked a couple guests too. there were stories about you that if you didn't like a record, that you would smash this shit against the wall, against the floor. So, like,
Yep.
yeah, when did you start doing that?
The first record that I did that with was it's actually a really good record too.
Okay.
The Nas and Lauryn Hill shit.
All
If
right,
I
if I rule the world.
That's the first one. But I was like, man, like that's a hell of a leap. Like how you go from Elmatic right to that. Like build a bridge or something. You can't come off of Elmatic with something so soft. Let it be the second single or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's how I first really started talking my shit in the public forum. Because it was a lot of whack records coming out. That was the parallel shift. You know, that's when the divide came between money and the art. And
Yeah.
if a shitty record came out, I would smash that shit to pieces on a Friday night. You know what I mean? And people would look forward to it. It got, I
I heard.
I wonder what he's gonna break tonight. People would. There's some homies that tell me they still got like a piece of a record. People would scatter and grab the fucking pieces. You know what I mean?
So over the years, it kind of been like a signature, as you would say.
It was a period of time. I mean, that was from like maybe 96 to like 99.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah.
So like I was wondering too, like because even you said like even like the weekends would be crazy because I remember the early days that you mentioned before at the St. Andrews Hall. Like, can you take me back 10 when you were like 19 and 20 and we're just like around the time like the almighty dreadnoughts were like making their buzz around the
Yeah.
city.
Absolutely. I went to Eastern Michigan University in the fall of '93, and I had some homies from a crew I was fucking with. Last one's out, Elwo, and my homies Lo and Zoe and my man VC would drive up to Ypsilanti, Michigan, which is like a 45-minute drive from Detroit. Pick me up on a Friday night. We go to St. Andrews. We might go to the Rhythm Kitchen. We might go to 1515 or like 1315 Broadway. And that was my physical introduction. You know what I mean? Eastern didn't last long.
That was college,
I
right?
got kicked out. Eastern Michigan University. I got kicked out maybe 2 months in for arson.
You spent
That's a
the rest
story
of
for
your
another
college
time.
funds on records, I heard.
Yeah, I went home with the balance of tuition and books, and I blew that shit in a couple months. Really, just being in the right place at the right time. DJs that maybe had hard times, and like 15 crates show up,
Yeah.
and you like you see them come in, and you wait. Or sometimes you gotta like you put your name in, like, hey man, like give me a holler, let me know when you put, because they still gotta process all those records too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for the
But
ending.
just coming up on a lot of heat and just kind of understanding the rhythm, like what days to be in the shop, what days the promos would show up, what days the new records would show up, the 12 inches. And at the same time, frequenting St. Andrews every Friday and bringing like a little stack of records and being like, let me get like the last 10, 15 minutes. Just trying to do some little blends, you know what I mean? Um, and one night in April, the DJ, one of the hip hop DJs on the main floor, got in a fight with the alternative DJ in the basement. So Friday nights was 3 floors of fun. You had the dopest house and techno in the Burns room upstairs by the dopest house techno DJs. Main floor ballroom. Same thing with hip hop. Basement in the shelter, alternative.
Okay.
It was all elevated. It wasn't pedestrian at all. So you had this crazy mix of educated listeners that would be available to all of it. So you would get this constant, transition between people would go to all floors. They wouldn't just stick to their own shit. They would go get a taste of all the other heat too. And one of the hip hop DJs punched the alternative DJ in his face and he got fired. And shout to my man Lito. He was head of security. He pulled me in the office, and I was DJing there the following Friday.
Oh, wow. It's kind of crazy how you could be at the certain places at the right time now too, and it comes full circle. Because like you being a DJ, like a lot of people, when they call themselves DJs, they're doing it from the computer, but it's like, nah, you got to do that from vinyl. You got to do that from 12 inches. But I was curious now too, like, because I heard that you were hunting down like test presses, like, from like Black Moon back in the
Oh
days.
yeah, absolutely. You had to have those relationships, and I was in the record stores all the time. And I'm very grateful because motherfuckers just took me in. They saw something in it. They saw something in me. The right things for the right reasons. Shout out to my man Huck. Rest in peace, Mike Huckabee, in the dance room at record time. He was very pivotal. He called me his hip hop soldier, and he would just have some heat for me every week. He had relationships because he was the buyer for the dance room, so he would get the promos directly, and he would decide who to give them to. And he could walk that room and give a record to anybody, whether it be a house record, a techno record, a hip hop record. Like he knew, you know what I mean? He knew what's the heat for this motherfucker? What's the heat for him? You know what I mean?
He knew.
And yeah, just that, and Detroit Audio, my man Daddy Riff, just meeting the right people and building those relationships and having that fucking responsibility to play that fucking heat every week. You know what I mean? I wake up Saturday morning, I got 6 days. You know what I mean? It ain't no fucking email list.
Yeah,
There
no,
might be one.
there's no internet.
There might be one fucking copy of that record in the city. You know what I mean?
And you gotta get.
And then after you kind of get that reputation, for the good kind of breaking records, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
They just kind of started coming to me. You know what I mean? Shout out to Jason Staten, my man. He worked for Loud Records back in the day. I mean, that was a fucking era. I'm talking about a motherfucker walking and hands you the fucking test press for Shook Ones too.
Oh man.
Or Shook Ones fucking part one on the Nutter Butters compilation, or the Glaciers of Ice promo, or the Survival of the Fittest, or the fucking Cold World D'Angelo remix. Fucking it was so much heat every week. It was ridiculous. And it was important to me to stay on top of that shit.
Yeah, and it's very. Do you still have like a lot of those from back? Because I noticed you have an extensive vinyl collection, but like
yeah. I mean, I'll keep it a buck. Like the most manicured section of my collection, the one that's been culled the most,
yeah,
is the hip hop 12 inches. That shit is super prime. But I kept all the shit that I needed to keep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I still got records with handwriting. T the Pimp was a promoter in Detroit. He would always fucking write on the shit with a Sharpie on the cover of the record, like T the Pimp promo. I'm like, man, like I know who the fuck the records is from, man. Like we ain't gotta
draw. So I was curious, like the label that that you're celebrating the 10-year anniversary through Street Corner Music. But was that the first store that you worked at? I may got my facts on that.
It wasn't the first store that I worked at. It was the first store that trusted me with their money.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like they let me spend their money to take care of my people.
Okay, so you knew you obviously knew what was hot.
Well, they I got that job working for records. I went to Street Corner Music the day that Hard to Earn came out. It might have been the Friday, but I feel like it was the Tuesday that Hard to Earn came out. And I was like, I know these motherfuckers ain't going to have the record. I'm just going to ask them for the CD. And we're out of the CD, but we got one copy left of this double vinyl import. And I'm like, I used to be so extra in record stores. I'm doing like snow angels on the ground. I'm like hollering, you know what I mean? Running laps around the store and shit. It's crazy. But I took a look around. I was like, dope spot. Like, I've worked in a couple record stores. You guys hiring? They're like, we don't have a cash budget, but we can pay you in credit. So like the first 6 months I worked there, I got a credit slip every week,
Okay.
which was another end to getting the fucking records. And then through that, I started going to Angot, which is a whole nother level because they have a fucking 12-inch section.
Yeah.
And I can buy them bitches for wholesale. They're like $3.50 a piece or
Okay.
$4. Then when I started doing the Saturday shit, picking up the orders, my payment was either two 12 inches. Yeah, yeah. When I started going to Angot on Saturdays, I would get shit even earlier. Because I mean, since I was like a kid, I just wanted to. When music really started mattering, like second, third grade, I just always wanted to have the shit first and just play it for my friends. You know what I mean? So getting closer and closer to having that motherfucker first every time, it was amazing, man. And people came, not like that, but people would be really
Yeah.
geeked to see what I was gonna play on a Friday night. It was real theatrical, you know what I mean? Like I would bring the house shoes to the club. I had this green army tackle box. And when it was time to DJ, I'd sit on the edge of the stage and start take my shoes off, open the shit up, put the house shoes on. You know what I mean? Motherfuckers was like, "Oh shit, shoes by the DJ." You know what I mean?
Is that where the name like house shoes came from? Because like when a lot of people interview you, they don't ask really like where the name house shoes come from.
Well, right before I left to go to Eastern, my mom just got me a dope ass pair of house shoes, like black leather, comfortable as fuck, and I wore them everywhere. I wore them out maybe 6 months in, got another pair, same exact kind. They're like $70 house shoes. Kept it way too real, as always. Be snowing outside, ice. I got fucking house shoes on. Silly.
So, even like I love how like you pay homage to street corner music, the store that you worked at with your label. So I was curious, like like what made you want to name your label that, and what are the few artists and producers that are from your label that that we may know, just for the general public who may not.
Right, right. I couldn't come up with a name. I was stuck for maybe 10 days. I just couldn't think of the stamp to put on it. I didn't want it to be house shoes anything. You know what I mean?
Like House Shoes Inc. I know what you mean.
I did house shoes records already. You know what I mean? Um, but like I said, Street Corner's the first people to put their money where their mouth was. You know what I mean? And it brings to me street corner music. Like this is the shit that we play as we pass the street corners. It's the shit that you might hear somebody. It's a secret, but I hear that shit sometimes on street corners. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh shit, they playing the joint.
So is the street corner music still like around? Like is the store actually still active?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've put out 82 records in 10 years. It'll officially be 10 years in September.
Oh yeah, no, I know the label still. I mean like this.
The record store. Yeah, absolutely. It's not in the original location. It used to be on 13, you got 8 Mile, 7 Mile, 8 Mile, 9 Mile, 10 Mile, 11 Mile. They were on 13 Mile in Southfield, and now they're at like 10 Mile in Greenfield.
Okay.
So it's like 5 minutes away.
Oh yeah, so same location pretty much.
And it's a smaller, much more refined location also.
Because
And it's dirty, it's grimier too. It's not like grimy. It's just the original location was a very big, bright, high ceiling, just typical strip mall spot. You know what I mean? The new spot is much more condensed and it just feels much more like a record store.
so like even with like street corner music, like I noticed like there's some of the like artists and producers that even I recognize on there. I was like, oh yo, this how should you know this guy? So I was curious, like, because you got like three releases from like Mutant Academy from like vinyl
Oh,
and
yeah. No,
physical.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, I'll be ahead of motherfuckers. I've always been ahead of motherfuckers.
I feel you on that. I
I
feel
mean,
like I
we got unknowns on the label and we got well knowns. We got Grammy award winning producers on the label as well that are homies. It's all personal. It's never chasing. These are personal relationships. Yeah, man. I mean, Jake One, fucking Mike and Keys.
oh yes, Mike and Keys, yes
You know
sir.
what I mean? Soundtrack, Stro Elliott. But then you got, Wildflower, Raj Mahal, Juicy the Emissary, who, and all the records are dope because I got good ass ears. You know what I mean?
I
And
was
like some shit makes me feel some kind of way. I want to make other people feel that way. It's innocent.
because I like how you said like if you're the names I recognize. I was curious because like I know this producer has ties to Detroit. Where did the relationship from like Jake One like come from? Did that come from like the Cali Trail like sessions with Chris?
No, no, that's fucking 1995.
Oh, okay, so that's wrong.
I played Slum Village for fucking Jake One for the first time.
Oh wow,
I
okay.
dubbed the fucking beat tapes for Jake One. I dubbed Fantastic Volume One for Jake One, and that shit spread that way, like Seattle and Toronto, because fucking
Yeah.
with RC, fucking with Attic, they would go on digging trips. Jake would come out, and they would go on digging trips, and they would crash on the fucking living room floor. Like my cat fucked all them up. Smokey fucked everybody up back then.
So, like I was curious now too, like even with like street corner music now too, with the vinyl release now coming, like everyone like to say like vinyl's making a comeback, but you always been a fan of vinyl, but did you see like this resurgence of vinyl like way before like let's say like
Well, I mean,
five
hip hop is what kept the record industry, like the vinyl record industry, alive for years. Like hip hop and dance music,
yeah
all the 12 inches. You know what I mean? And it's great to see people buying physical media, just buying, spending money, owning shit. Because
yeah
even on iTunes, you don't own it; it's a fucking license.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And seeing kids that grew up. I mean, there's a generation of people that grew up without physical media for the most part.
It's crazy,
And I mean, you can't be mad about that. That's how they grew up. It ain't
Yeah.
their fault. You know what I mean? But seeing them become available to it. I saw a girl, this is probably like 5 years ago. It was fucking amazing. It's a girl and her mom. You can tell she's like fucking maybe 14, maybe 15 years old. And they're in the G's. And she goes to her mom. She's like, Mom, I always wanted to get into the Grateful Dead. I just don't want to throw my life away.
Oh, shit. What?
But that's record store shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like the ecosystem of a record store is phenomenal on many levels.
Yeah, because I remember the days where like it's kind of crazy like how a generation will never get that feeling of like gonna go buy like a physical media the day it comes out because back then iTunes none of that physical media wasn't I mean
Yeah,
digital media wasn't going crazy like that.
yeah.
So that feeling of being able to cop and I remember going to the store like when I remember when Old to the Ghetto came out. I remember skipping school to go get that. A lot of people don't know like that feeling, man. So I was curious with your
I
very
mean, it's topped out though. It's topped out.
yeah
Like to the two previous years, it rose. It rose. I want to say like 70%, and then like 50 more percent the next year. And records were selling like they were selling in the fucking 80s. But this year, it's gone up like 1%.
yeah.
And it can be, I do this shit myself for the most part. And no distribution.
Also, everything's
I,
independent.
I I mean I have a system. I have people that I give a percentage to, and they carry the weight in regards to like mail outs and shit like that. But yeah, man, it ain't no joke.
Well, where did you first start the label? Was it in LA or was it in
Yeah,
Detroit?
absolutely.
It was in
Yeah,
LA.
I was still with the mother of my children, and she had to go. She was going to go back to school, and I had a shit 2-year-old daughter and a 5, 6 year old son at the time, and I needed to do something musically. And I started the gift series, which is how we started the label. It was just a
Yeah.
series of
It
beat
was a
tapes that
full
I put
digital
together.
download at first.
Yeah, they were free downloads. But then the homie at Fat Beats, fuck, I can't believe him. Oh, Joe Dent, not the owner. Joe Dent. Joe Dent was the man at Fat Beats. He did 10 people's jobs, and he could do them blindfolded with his fucking hands tied behind his back. He was a king, and he talked me into doing the record shit.
Okay.
He was like, "Yo, I'll make it as easy as possible for you. Like, the shit you're doing is great." And I'm so grateful for that because, I was just on downtime putting these beat tapes together. Because that's another thing about Street Corner. You don't give me a release and I put it out. It doesn't work like that. Like,
Mm.
I hear some shit and you start sending folders, you know, I take 300 beats down to like 50, and then I'll take it down to like 20. Then I'll sequence the album. Like, then I get an idea for the artwork while I'm sequencing the album. Like, I'm very super heavy handed with the shit. You know what I mean?
So how do you pick like the Fly Anakin releases or like somebody that's not affiliated directly to your label for a
Well,
physical
I
shit?
knew I knew Anakin through Foisey,
Okay.
um, and it was his first record.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I think it was called episode one.
It's like that's his first project, and I'm an advocate of the producer,
I
always primarily an advocate for the producer. So I was like, yo, like it's perfect time, like lengthwise, vocals on one side, and then we do just the beats on side two. And he was like, yeah, fuck it.
and like you even have like chains like I'm a nerd when it comes to Detroit hip hop, but is that the chain
Change is a fucking legend, man.
is that the chains that had a project with A minus?
Chains supported the city when Dilla and Proof died
Okay.
musically. He produced entire albums for so many artists, from Miss Corona to Mo Dirty
Oh, yeah.
to, like, I mean, he carried half of a decade on his back
Yeah.
and with nothing to show for it. Just in good faith, just holding shit down with heat. You know what I mean?
Because
He rocked at the anniversary party a few weeks back in Detroit, and he fucking chalked it out.
so even like with street corner music, like, I was curious, like, when you're looking back on like, like anniversaries for like, past releases, like Let It Go, that's obviously the House Shoes debut album, but that started off as an instrumental album at first.
Yeah, yeah. It's the way I wanted to do it. I stopped making beats actively 15 years ago. When
Oh,
I had children, I ain't made a beat in 15 years. Like, anything you hear from me is either damn near 20 years old, like that fucking joint that dropped, the Paradigm, the LXG joint that just
oh yeah,
dropped.
okay, yeah, we're gonna talk about that in a second. But
Well, the song is from 2011,
yeah.
but that beat is from fucking, like, I mean, at least 5 or 6 years before that.
Oh wow. So you go digging in the archives for that, eh?
Yeah, I mean, that's all I got, and it ain't too many crumbs left. You know what I mean? I was never a workhorse producer like that. I just made beats because I like making beats.
Okay,
I never made beats like, oh, I gotta make a beat for Guilty
yeah.
or Marv or fucking anybody. I just made beats, and then you link with the homies. They be like, let me hear some shit, and it all goes from there. But it's always been ultra personal, man.
I like how you brought that up because you put like a little see you in Paradigm put a statement when y'all released that the LXG joint, but like for the people who don't know, this would have been one of the illest. I'm a big fan of supergroups. I love
Bro, 12 years ago, if that dropped 12 years ago,
oh
you
my
know what I mean? And I've been on his head for a decade. Like, what's up with LXG?
What's going on? But okay, so so for the people who don't know, it's on the screen for the people, you can see the cover. But if you're not watching, this group had Guilty Simpson, Danny Brown, Paradigm, Catchphrase, Cancer the God, Mew, and DJ AMF. And it was all going to be produced by House Shoes. Like, this group was going to be crazy. But, like, what happened?
I don't remember, bro. That was a blurry time. It just, I think it was just kind of a biting off more than we could chew type situation.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard enough to get one rapper in a motherfucking studio to record an album, let alone fucking 7 or 6 or whatever the fuck it was. You know what I mean?
I think it was 7. Yeah, it was just a name. But like when you finally seen the day of that, release, did that get kind of inspired? Like, like maybe we can do that LXG album.
Oh, I mean, I ain't got no beats.
But what about you curating it?
Oh, that'd be fucking Disneyland. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You
Yeah,
executive producer.
I work quickly.
Release on Street Corner Music.
Hey, put it in the universe, bro. Put it on the Christmas list. We'll see.
So, this gentleman also came up on the show a lot of the time now too, and I like when somebody from the church actually understands the importance of this man. And I've been telling Pat, salute to Pat, man. But every time this man comes up,
Big salute to Pat, bro. Big salute.
Big salute to Pat.
Pat cares.
Yes, definitely.
He carries the weight. He carries as much as he can. You know what I mean? Which is much more than damn near anybody else in the city has shown they would want to do.
And then, but shout out to Pat as well. But the gentleman, I was referring to now, man. Every time, like, me and Pat talk about the gentleman, I always tell Pat, I'm like, yo, man, I swear, man, can you get this guy to write a book? And sometimes I'll be asking, like, him stuff in the DMs, shout out to Hex Murda, if you want, put it, my guy, I know you watching. Can you tell us about Hex Murda, my guy, your very first interaction with him?
Man, Hex is a fucking legend, man.
Oh, yes, sir.
Hex is goony as fuck. Hex was one hitter quitter every Friday night. Somebody be laying in the street, Hex too long, in the middle of Congress, right out in the fucking front of St. Andrews. But he cared as well.
Yeah.
And he had his stable of artists, you know what I mean? Dreadnoughts. He was him and Proof had a lot of similarities in regards to the fact that they just knew everybody.
That's so I heard, yeah.
So the connections, you know what I mean? That was the connection from the studio to the club, to the streets, to the hood, you know what I mean? And he fucking was a fucking maniac, bro.
Yeah, so yeah.
No, Hex is like a singular entity. Hex is a fucking 101.
Yeah, that's true. True.
And they took his fucking legs, and sometimes I wonder if he would even still be here if he didn't lose his legs. Because it was like I feel like that's the only way we could have got Hex to sit down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what his voice. Hex didn't talk much.
I know.
I mean, like, you talk shit. You be drinking and talk shit, jokes and shit, but when shit got serious, it wasn't a lot of talking going on. And his voice on socials and the documentation, I mean, his eloquence with the pen, with telling stories on like social media and blogs and websites. It's fucking unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's like his second movement. You know what I mean? No pun intended. Sorry, Hex.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, but that's what I like about like a person like Hex Murda, because he has so much history. He doesn't even have to talk about like the crazy stuff. It's just the fact, like some anniversary post, like he'll share like a bit of a story, and it's like, okay, I want more than just a social media post. Like,
yeah.
Have you ever?
Bro, me and Hex were co A&Rs for what was supposed to be Welcome Back to Detroit.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah, it never happened, unfortunately. But we had some meetings, we had some dinners. It didn't work out, unfortunately. But imagine that.
Yeah. Oh man. Because like even Hex, like even like when he was touring, like I was curious, I even asked him this too. I'm like, yo, did the house shoes ever go with you touring overseas when you were managing Guilty and Elzhi? But he said you might have went on tour with Ken Gordy overseas.
Not overseas. I went on tour with King Gordy in the States.
Okay.
Um, Overseas, started off with Slum, holding them down while Dez had other shit to do. He was DJing for Moody Man. And that was a crazy story. My first ever international show was in fuck. Was it the Netherlands or some shit?
Oh
The
wow.
super big festival. Um, I think Kraftwerk was playing at the same
Oh
time we were
wow.
there.
Craftwork. Oh shit.
You know what I mean?
That's I know Craftwork.
Multi stages, all fucking fantastic groups. So we're going through the back. We're driving in the fucking in the van through the woods to go to the backstage area, and I'm looking through the flyer for the festival, and it's like, oh shit, Moody Man's playing
Huh.
with Dez. That'd be dope if we see him. We pull up the backstage. I get out. We're unloading the van. Dez walks out rolling a blunt. Then Moody walks out rolling a blunt. Paul Randolph walks out. This other motherfucker, like, but before it was all said and done with us and all of them, it was like 14 motherfuckers from Detroit backstage chilling before my first ever international show.
Tour.
You know what I mean? It's unbelievable.
So So for somebody like you now too, who actually been overseas and seen like how like they appreciate more of the lyricism overseas as opposed to the USA, where they're like, I want trap beats, but there's a few of us in North America who love that, that hard hit and stuff. But coming up, like I remember, like like I always say this all the time. Yes, Eminem introduced me to Detroit hip hop scene, but what made me really fall in love with that sound were the slum villages, the fat cats, the Elzis, the Frank N Dank. Your shout out to
Yeah.
my guys, Frank N Dank, man. I remember being like, because Detroit has that sound you just don't find anywhere else. So I remember like trying to download like Frank N Dank's 48 hours because this thing was bootleg so much. It's like, yo, wait. So have you ever thought about like going back and like, records that not obviously 48 hours, but old archives that you may have and pressing them up on vinyl through street corner music?
Well, the next record that I'm actually releasing on Street Corner Music is Elzhi Out of Focus.
Oh, 1999. Oh my God.
No,
That
no,
big
no,
big pose
98.
on that one, right?
25 years. It was 98. We started in 96. We finished it in 98. Never been on vinyl.
Oh, never been. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I need that
yeah,
on vinyl.
yeah. Never been on vinyl. And that was the first time anything that I touched got around the globe. You know what I mean? Like damn near pre-internet or super early internet days. You know,
You
and
still
this
got
is
the tape?
there was a very I want to the tapes that they did when they did these tapes.
That's
They
it.
did these when he did Witness My Growth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that never physically got shit went left at the end. Like he got like a telemarketing job and it shit just got weird for a minute. It was a strange pivot. Like we did all this shit just super innocently. I was coming into my own on the beats and he was already taking heads and everything that we were cutting in the studio was fucking fire and it never landed properly. And that shit happens. It's got to be patient,
I think
cross your fingers and hopefully the shit will see the light of day. But yeah, this will be out in the next, few months. Absolutely.
because a lot of people like I see like over time, like sometimes people are so ahead of their time like with releases, like it may fly over people's head until years later till they
Oh,
discover him. And I always see that project pop up at least once time when we mention Elzhi, like out of focus. I'm like, yo, how is Shoes produced like half that record?
2/3.
Yeah. Oh wow. Okay. Wow. Yeah. 2/3, y'all, for y'all listening. But the only
Yeah, man, that was fucking. That was the first time I really worked, you know, face to face in the studio, late nights. Magnetic, my homie Magnetic had just got. He had just finished school at the Disc, which was a recording studio on the East Side, and he had free nights. Like if he was there, he had free night time, like the whole night shift. If there's no clients, he can go in there and do whatever the fuck he wants to do. So we go in on his nights. Man, that shit was so crazy, bro.
Oh man.
That shit was so like boomerang slang.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what are your top 5 beats?
No, I had to walk out. I had to walk out. I had to walk out before he cut it the first time. Before he cut that motherfucker the first time, I was like, man, I'm about my fucking head's about to pop. And that song to this day is one of the greatest songs ever in the genre, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the greatest story raps of all time. Man, that shit is fucking incredible. And we did that, just fucking around. We was fucking around, yo. Ain't nobody at the crib was like, we're about to change the world. We was fucking getting creative and fucking digging for records and making beats, and motherfuckers is rapping, and we're smoking and we're drinking, and it was one of the most beautiful accidents in human history.
I like how like you always remember those times now too, because like even with like that being pressed up on vinyl, I remember you said like you have a lot of things archived. Are you gonna include like bonus mixes or like something that
Well, this is the fucked up thing. Uh I had given the D88 masters to JD, and he was gonna fuck around and do some remixes, and he had a flood.
I always say bring up the flood, yeah.
Masters gone. You know what I mean? So this is all from archival tapes, CDs. Like, there's a few different mixes of each, but I feel like we definitely got the best possible situation. And you might not even be able to tell. It just sounds like some old shit, but it's not like messy tape shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know.
It's word.
Try to listen to. I always tell Hex, yo, I need to get City of Trees like on like stream and say, yo, I can only hear these shitty like tape mixes. Like I need to hear
all that shit. I don't know why all that shit ain't on streaming. There was CDs for all that shit. You know what I mean? You could pull waves off of all that shit. All that shit. I mean, the landscape is what it is. You know what I mean? It's fucked up, but just for historical purposes.
But
I didn't start doing this shit so I can get rich. You know what I mean? But I deserve value to be paid when people have spent money on it. They just changed the whole shit up where, hey man, you ain't got to spend money on shit anymore.
Yeah.
And I still don't really understand how the record industry is making more money than they ever have, and
than before,
and we're getting less. Like, how does that shit make sense?
Like they jipping a lot of the artists more than ever before now.
Fucking them.
So
you don't even need the motherfuckers. They don't even fuck with you until you
have a big buzz. I mean?
And nobody taking no chances anymore. There's no artist development. There's no grooming. You know what I mean?
Back then, because like I remember, well, it's kind of crazy how you bring up something like they want you to give it away for free. We won't spend much time on this topic, but yo, this was released as a free download, but this was one of the greatest pieces of music I've ever fucking heard in my life. I wasn't there. Well, I was there obviously, but I didn't understand the importance of Elmatic when it first dropped. Oh. But years later, this artist from Detroit, like I remember seeing his name pop up here and there. But this one mixtape that he released called Elmatic was probably one of the greatest fucking releases. And I don't know when people rap over their own like legends beats, but this thing was looked like it was made for him. I was,
Oh man,
I was
Will Sessions made that. In my opinion, that's what put it over. That's what made it kind of, even though it's literally a tribute beat for beat to a one of the most perfect albums of any genre. Uh, the Will Sessions shit made it its own thing. Because if that tape would have came out and it was just over fucking not like the instrumentals, it wouldn't have rang as hard. It wouldn't have rang as loud, I don't think. You know what I mean?
that's yeah.
How they stretched out like Life's a Bitch and they stretched out One Love and the shit got crazy at the end.
That,
Like, man, get the fuck out of here, yo. How do you make Illmatic better, yo? He damn near made Illmatic better.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. But
yeah, no, that was that. Not to beat my own dick, but that was my idea.
okay, thank you. Because that was gonna be my question. I'm like, yo, was you responsible for this like project?
Yeah, we was on tour in Europe, and it just bang. I tell people one of the things that I do is I'm a light bulb dealer.
Mm.
I don't deal them. I deal them like cards. I don't sell them. You know what I mean? And I was like, yo, it's like I had that idea in my head for maybe 10 seconds, and it was already like
going.
fully formed. But the Will Sessions shit, that was all him. Like he made that happen.
It sounds like he took that all in one take too.
But I was like, bro, like Elmatic, and he was like, what you mean? What you mean? And I was like, bro, Elmatic, you're gonna remake Elmatic. You're gonna try to stick to the cadences if you can as much as possible, but it's all you. Just try to ride it like he did a little bit. You know what I mean? Oh, and then I was like, oh shit, like who's on Life's a, we started talking like who's on Life's a Bitch? He's like, oh, we gotta have Royce on Life's a Bitch. Like it just started
coming together.
Oh yeah.
So and I like how like you keep the relationship. Like I remember when you were big on Twitch now too. I was like, wow, like it's kind of crazy to see how shoes embracing Twitch, with the street corner music. So what made you actually like want to get into Twitch? Like was this like you wanted
had no choice, yo.
Oh well, wow.
No, it wasn't no choice. I'm a DJ.
Was this during COVID? Like it's like
traveling DJ. All the rooms closed.
Yeah, okay. I can't go.
And our shit is entertainment's beyond the finish line in a pandemic. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I didn't get on Twitch to do anything but just play some records. It was an escape. I tell people to this day, this is for me. Like I'm not rocking for nobody but myself on here. I'm playing my shit. I'm playing shit I want to hear. The next record's always going to be the next record I want to hear. This is my escape, and it's kind of turned into a habit. It's kind of fucked up. It's like fight or flight. If anything happens, it's like, man, fuck that. I'm gonna just go home, pour some whiskey, and get on Twitch. You know what I mean?
Spend some records.
But the first day I hopped on, 30 people showed up.
Oh wow! Okay, wow.
Which is pretty fucking good for a first day. You know what I mean?
I would say.
And that was 3 years ago. I got like 12,000 followers. That shit's paid the rent for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
And now it's paying like 2 months at a time. You know what I mean?
Advance.
In the fucking living room playing joints.
That's just like off like it's kind of crazy how technology came like a long way now. I remember when like you were just doing the records on there now too, but I remember when you premiered like the Elzhi, like the Shoes House, like with the Elzhi interview, and I that's one thing I kind of wish that you would do more is like interview artists that you have passed from, because you can get those type of stories that we can't get. Like
yeah. I just want to get. I'm not big on technology, and just for the interview shit, I need to figure out like one more thing, because it's cool sitting there handing the mic back and like I don't, when I'm on Twitch, I do it from my fucking phone, yo. I plug my phone in, we plug the audio into the phone, And for the first year, I just had the shit in a mount by the speaker, no direct audio and nothing. And people couldn't tell the fucking difference. You know what I'm saying? It's a foot away from iPhones. Got good ass microphones. You know what I mean?
Of course, yes, sir.
But yeah, like that's another value of the station to me. Is like it's bare bones. Anybody could fucking do this shit. People be thinking about shit so much that they never do it. You know what I mean? Like I want to get on Twitch, but I need a background and I need graphics and I need to have a commercial and motherfucker, figure it out after you start. You think, what the fuck? It's a world premiere. Like you think everyone's gonna come because you're gonna do all that work and it's still gonna be that same number of people in the room the first day.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
And then the transparency that's showing people that process. Like if you want to do that, let them see you build your shit up. That could be a dialogue internally in your community in the chat. You know what I mean? Like, oh shit, what you got coming next? Which how you leveling up? I don't give a fuck about none of that shit. I'm on here to play records. I barely talk when I'm streaming.
I noticed that, yeah.
I try to greet people, but when I zone out and I don't pay attention to any of that shit, that's the best time because that means I'm in the fucking records. You know what I mean?
Like I like how that's kind of crazy how you said that, you don't make beats anymore now too. But when I see like House Shoes placement, now I'm gonna look at it totally different now too. But like how did you land the MACH HOMMY placement? Because this guy don't just like pop out of nowhere.
Oh, I know Hami for 7 years maybe.
Oh, so you're early on him too. Okay.
Yeah, I mean HBO was album of the year in 2016. Like I hit him up. I was like, I need the files on that, bro. Like I need to play that shit. I need to play it. Send me the pack. And he would keep me current. But that happened. I had like a folder. Like I told you, I ain't made a beat in 15 years. So I had a folder of like Lucy's, like loopers, little like Serato shit. I would record a record into Serato and then just cue point it. You know what I mean? And record internally on Serato and just play the beat out on the pads, just like it's an MP, but I'm just recording. It's like tape deck beats almost, but with cue points. And I gave Swarvy a folder with maybe like 12 or 15 chop ups, loopers, sketches, and he made like a 8-minute beat tape out of it with maybe like 8 or 9 beats on there.
Oh wow.
And I want to say the fourth one was the quartz movement joint, but he had chopped the sample all up. Like I just had the loop. I had that loop. That loop is a motherfucker, right? So the tape's playing and that beat comes on and I'm like, stop that fucking beat right now, yo. He's like, what you mean? I was like, man, put that fucking loop on them drums, bro. Don't disrespect that loop, bro. Like them chops are cool, but put that fucking loop, lock that shit in with them drums. And he did, and he played the rest of the tape, and it was dope. And I sent it to Hami like that week, and he picked Quartz Movement.
See, like I like how like sometimes like you keep relevance in the game now too, and you don't even have to make a new beat like that now too. Because like when I see like produced by House Shoes, it's like, yo, man, like this guy has so much history. Like I remember being such a nerd, man. I remember seeing you in 8 Mile when you were standing back where he's giving back up to security guard. You're literally standing back there. But the one thing, like, I did not notice, but like I was curious because the man sitting right here. You know when he's puking? Do you have like House Shoe stickers in the bathroom stall in that movie? Because I could have sworn like
I don't think. I mean, some of the stickers and like the posters and shit, aside from the crates of record on stage, were my records too.
Yeah, I remember you were saying the records were yours. Yeah,
but I don't think I had any House Shoe stickers though. That might just be a coincidence.
Okay, because I remember seeing like a House Shoe sticker, like I'm like,
or that might be like fucking Rosenberg, like doing some Yoda shit, like that I didn't know about,
like Easter egg shit, like
yeah, right,
like that Marvel Avengers shit. Like you got to like really pay attention to like
understand. Right.
So it's kind of crazy how back then how you were saying you were getting those records, like like the shook ones and the OCs. Because I won't front. The very first times I ever heard that shook ones beat was in that 8 Mile movie. I'm like, yo, who the hell is this, bro? That's Prodigy on that thing. I remember, yo, who is this? But when you were, getting the calls for that movie, were you getting like the feeling back when you had like those instrumentals with the
I
test?
still had the feeling. I
For,
never lost the feeling, yo.
but like,
I mean, that was a historical era, but you know,
because I can't imagine like hearing shook ones for the first time in 1995. Because remember, this is pre-internet. There is no internet out there. We're hearing like Times Up for the first time. It's just like, oh my god. But those
right.
even like Onyx were like those beats were staples in the Detroit battle scene. Like,
Last day. So also the battle records they bootlegged off of my records too, because
oh
this is pre Serato, so they would take like the Shook One's 12-inch and photocopy the label and take the record to a studio and cut a master, and yeah, it would be the same song on both sides just in case the record gets scratched, and it was
yeah.
just the instrumental pressed wide as fuck on a 12-inch on both sides for all those records in the battle in 8 Mile.
Oh,
Look, I'll show. Watch this. Fuck you up real quick.
oh shit, yeah, we're about to get an exclusive, yo. But see, a lot of people don't notice, like about like with like classic scenes like that. Like it's like a
But
moment
yeah,
in time right now.
so these are the records right here.
Oh wow, yeah, I see. Like those are like moment, like I said, moment in time.
It's just one, just the instrumental pressed wide as hell, but they made stickers for the labels. So that's the Show and AG, the Primo remix. Last Days,
And they try to get it like as so authentic as possible. That's crazy, yo.
Survival of the Fittest,
Yeah, I remember that one too. And
Time's Up.
yeah, you see, like even like Times Up, we went.
Yo, and the Shook ones is funny because for the Shook ones, they just photocopied the LP label.
Oh, and just
So
like
it's got like the track, like the full half of the side on there and shit. It's crazy. But
and
yeah, there's no records of these selling ever. There's no record of these on the internet.
man, those are archives, man. You gotta frame those.
Oh no, this is fucking rainy day
Oh, really? Oh, you still
college
obviously
college college tuition money for the kids type shit.
So I remember in that movie now too, like a lot of people introduction, into Britney Murphy's like Kid of the Hill, but I remember I could have sworn there's a one scene where when he gives her the finger, I swear like you were standing like right there beside her, it was like Britney Murphy.
I'm cropped out in the movie as good, as much as I remember. I feel like I definitely was standing right next to her.
Because they have a special
Paul hit me. Paul hit me. He's like, man, I got a good shot for you, just on the fly. Like Paul was like, come here, and like Paul put me next to her. Paul Rosenberg put me right next to Britney Murphy for that scene.
And like you talk to her at all?
I mean, we see she was a sweetheart. She's the star though. I'm not.
I would have been like, no, I would have been like, yo, what up, Brittany? Yeah, I loved you.
No, I mean, brief conversations,
Yeah.
just being cordial, being a gentleman. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So how much people can say like, I was actually, sitting next to Brittany Murphy because a lot of people like with you, like I noticed now too, like I kind of wish you would write a book now too of your experiences now too, because like it just Detroit breeds a different type of energy that we don't really see now in the world.
Yeah. Honesty.
Mm.
The world is a soft place. Detroit's not a soft place.
No, it's not. No, it's
You
not.
know what I mean? And that there's many layers to that statement. But yeah, man, I talk my shit. I use my words. And I always keep it a buck.
Well,
I always keep it. You might not, people might not like the way that I fucking say shit sometimes, but
yeah, of course.
I always keep it a buck. So if you got a problem with somebody that always keeps it a buck, what the fuck does that say about you?
Oh, that's true.
There's a lot bigger fish to fry.
I remember you once said that the ones you admire you shouldn't meet. But was there any artist that that you wish you didn't meet that you were a fan of before? Like you don't gotta say names, but has that like
Uh,
happened to you before?
nah, I never really had an interaction that you take the good with the bad.
Mm, that's true.
The problem is just inconsistency.
Mm,
Like act the same around different people. Like that's super Hollywood shit and just some stars or heroes in general. But I'm the most grateful motherfucker in the world, bro. Like I got more than a handful of my heroes. I talk to them. I know them. We're like peers now. It's unfucking believable. Just being a motherfucker that always wanted to play Heat and keep it a buck and stick to the script. And now it's unbelievable.
I
The
remember
numbers,
like
the numbers in my motherfucking telephone is I I I nerd the fuck out over that shit sometimes. I get off the phone with motherfuckers. I'm like, man, this shit is crazy.
but it
But
just
I deserve that.
of course because
You
you
know
put
what I
that
mean?
work in over the years.
Yeah.
Even like, cause I remember seeing your name like pop up in Forbes now too. Like, people don't know, this guy was interviewed by Forbes magazine, yo. But
Shout
like,
to Max. Shout to Max Bell. Shout to Jeff Weiss. Absolutely.
but one thing I always liked about you, like, you always kept your ear to Detroit now too, because I see you obviously, seeing the growth of Ty Ferris with like Proof and Iron Fist and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I was curious, like, even like back then, like, do you still have like Fuzz Scoota's demo?
Huh.
Oh, you gonna tell us that too? Oh shit, we got a treat today, though.
What's
Is
that
that a
say?
is that a case that's in, or
What's
is
that say? Read the
okay?
bottom.
Yeah, see, yeah, that's history right there. If y'all know Fuzz Scooter right
Look at
there.
this. Look at that.
Oh, it's clear. Oh yeah, see, that's straight like pencil on there too. See, this is history right there.
Yeah.
But even with like Fuzz Scooter's demo, I was curious now too. Do you think that kind of inspired M's?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Slim Shady. Slim Shady was a fully formed Fuzz Scooter. I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but there's
no, we know what you
definitely
mean by that.
that's definitely the seed. You know what I mean? Because Keep It a Buck, when Infinite came out, I was like, it's cool. It's a well produced record. But I
Sounds
was
like
like,
AZ kind of.
not kinda. I was like, yo, you rap. It sounds like AZ, man. Like, why you rap? Like, it's New York. It's New York shit, man. You know what I mean? The beats was cool. There was a couple joints off of there that I would play on Fridays, and maybe not even necessarily every week. But yeah, Fuzz, man. Jesus Christ, man. You talk like you be at the hip hop shop, and if Fuzz is there, you get excited.
I heard Fuzz
I
have
mean, there was a lot of people. I mean, the hip hop shop was fucking unbelievable, bro. Like
like the names that would come in there
the
too.
level of fucking talent in that room, unbelievable, yo. Unbelievable. Like at any given time, you might hear the greatest verse that you've ever heard in Detroit and damn near in your life.
Man, I kind of wish every session was kind of Can you imagine, like, if every session was documented for those battles? Oh my god! But like, even even like with that, I remember you said somewhere that you were you DJ'd the Slim Shady EP release party at the Viper Room on the East Side, but
Yep.
I was you said DJ Rec, aka Cheddar Bob. Was Cheddar Bob a real character?
Nah, nah.
Okay,
Cheddar
I was
Bob
curious.
is fucking 8 Mile movie shit. DJ Rec is fucking awesome, and I hate that he kind of took that shit and ran with it. He was like, "Bro, you're Rec, man. You ain't Cheddar Bob. You ain't, you know." But yeah, I mean, Rec's production history with
Oh, of
Eminem. Like,
course.
yeah, I mean, my favorite Eminem song ever is "Murder Murder."
Sir, that's it.
That's
See,
that's fucking Rec. So without Rec, he wouldn't have had the greatest song that I ever heard from him.
So what I like about you now too, like I remember like the relationship with Proof, and like it's kind of crazy when I see the resemblance of the Ty Ferris with his bars over BS and what Proof had going on with Iron Fist, because I remember Iron Fist had Purple Game, like Jay Hill, like Killer Khan, for y'all don't remember. So like
Wow.
yeah.
Wow, yo. You're on top of your shit, man.
I love Detroit hip hop. But like
Ty Ferris, yo. Like all respect due, but out of everybody at the crib since I left, he's the one that's truly taking it into his own hands.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like pressing your own shit, going through all that, and then carrying the weight of others, carrying their releases, distributing their releases, selling their shit. Like, ain't nobody done that. And there's no more powerful person than somebody that releases your music. And 9 out of 10 people, when they realize that, they're still not going to do it themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, man, I love Ty, man. I love Ty to death, man. I'm so proud of that dude, man.
Because like I remember like like Proof when he was pushing Iron Fist. Like, did he come to you with a few exclusive deals? Like, how I want you to break this Killer Connor record.
Well, there were no records.
There was like mixed. I remember Jay Hill had to like.
Well, there was no records though. There was no, and
like
I
no
was
vinyl. Like, okay, yeah, no vinyl.
I was an all vinyl DJ, so you know what I mean. Like, but I mean, Proof had me DJ his MC battles. Proof used to tell me and other people that like I was Red Alert and he was KRS-One. You know what I mean?
And I remember like we visited like the street corner music discography, and I remember coming across like Hot Soup. I'm like, that shit took me back. But I remember like, was it like the first time you ever heard of Danny Brown because you did this show for him and you seen this crowd like just do no word for word, doesn't matter if they were new fans.
Oh yeah, that was the release tape for Hot Soup.
Yeah,
that was the night that I knew he was going to be a fucking star. And I've had 3 of those nights in my life. It was when I saw M at the Hip Hop Shop. I was like, it's only a matter of time. When I saw Danny in the basement at Oslo's for the Hot Soup joint, it was just a matter of time. And when I saw Anderson .Paak had a fucking residency at this spot on La Brea called The Lyric. This is probably 12 years ago. And he had opened up for a show I did with Shafiq Hussein maybe 2 or 3 years before that. And he was really dope. And he gave me a CD. And fast forward them 2 or 3 years, he was so fully formed at this show. And it was a mad young crowd, and they knew every word to every fucking song that he did. You know what I mean? And I looked at him and I was like, hey man, like I was talking so much shit to him that night, like good shit. You know what I mean? Like they sat me down for an interview. They was like, "Can you say all this shit on tape for us?" Like this is before anything. I was like, "He's gonna get in the next. Mark my words. In the next 3 months, he's gonna get on a plane, and his life is not gonna be the same when he gets back home." You know what I mean? And the night of the Hot Soup joint, it was maybe 50 people, maybe 60, and half of the crowd was the homies. And they knew all this shit. And the other half was fucking Reggie's. You know what I mean? Just regular folk that heard it was a party. Didn't know nothing. Didn't know who the fuck Danny Brown was. 2 songs in, you could not tell the fucking difference.
Yo.
It was fucking, yeah, man. I'm big on like, I'm big on singularities. That night was a singularity. I ain't never seen nothing like that.
Some artists you just know, like when you see it, it's like
just know the fucking energy in that room, and it was maybe counting like staff, bartender, security, DJ. It might have been 60 people. You know what I mean? Yeah. Unrivaled energy. And like we're seeing this all happen right now at the same time. Like you see this, you know what I mean? I'm throwing on Dilla beats. He fucking freestyling to him and shit. You know what I mean?
So
Crazy.
just like like I love how like he has his cult following now too over the years now too. But like to some of his album deal, like I remember like his album, his recent release, his personality's unmatched. But his album, "We Scaring the Hoes," does his album sounds like make you like kill you sometimes?
Hey man, you get what we give you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a critic. I like what I like. I've really tried to pivot from like shitting on, whenever I feel like shitting on something, I try to talk about something dope instead. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And I don't want him to do something that someone else wants him to do. I want him to do every time what the fuck he wants to do. And if he wants to scare some hoes, scare some fucking hoes, man.
Do you have any memories that stand out of Frank and Dank?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we smoked 56 blunts. We smoked 56 blunts in like 4 hours
Well,
in
what's
Studio A. That's when Dilla and Madlib met in the studio for the first time. Wolf was there. It was Wolf, Frank Dank, Dilla, um, Jamie the engineer, me, and my homie Elray, Havana. And we smoked 56 blunts.
that's
It was ridiculous.
what's it like when you see them getting their flowers from a superstar like Drake? Because I remember, I think it was last year they did OVO Fest. I was like, yo, I was so because a lot of these kids they don't know about the significance of a 48 hours album, like of
Well, I
something.
mean, that's T Dot. That's T Dot history, though, because they, shortly after that, they left and moved to Toronto.
Yeah, yeah, Dank's there, but Frank's
Yeah,
in LA. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So that makes sense, absolutely, because Drake never knew Dilla. So Frank and Dank is the closest thing, and it's T Dot. It's a T Dot relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like,
Yeah, that was a hell of an era. That was, the MCA album and the fucking 48 Hours album.
oh my God.
I was up at Studio A often.
And so before I let you go now, too, with Fat Beats, was it like I wasn't too sure if you were a manager or if you worked at that company, but did they offer you a manager position at Fat Beats at one point?
I closed Fat Beats on Melrose. There was a lot of red flags going on. Uh, we were only being allowed to order records like maybe, I don't remember if it was once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or once a month. It was just mad red flags everywhere to the point where we hit up the office and was like, "What the fuck is going on, man?" And they totally appeased us and were like, "No, everything's good." You know what I mean? Um, Business as usual. We just gotta slow down for a minute, and then we get an email maybe 36 hours later. It's over with.
Oh, what the hell?
So shout to the homie Soup, and he vanished. I haven't seen him since that day. Like he felt disrespected and lied to, and he held that spot down. So when he punched the clock that day, a lot of us ain't seen him since. Um,
But it's
and it's like fuck, like Fat Beats LA is closing. I was like, ain't nobody else gonna do it. So like I scheduled the last day. Like the last day where it was like every motherfucking rapper in that bitch. You know what I mean? From Dilated to fucking E Rule, Exhibit, just all the West Coast motherfuckers was in there. All the DJs, motherfuckers bought every record in the store, and I got on the mic and I was like, "Yeah, too late, motherfuckers.
it's
If
closed,
you would have
y'all.
if you would have spent like $50 once a month, all of you still have a record store. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, MC8 was there. Like it was a fucking unbelievable night, and I had to leave early because I had to get on a plane and go somewhere and DJ. But yeah, like I took the responsibility. You know what I mean? I was like, these are the motherfuckers we gotta have rock on the last day of Fat Beats in LA. and it was super, super classic.
See, and that's like I like how like you don't let like something like that like Cody's like I'm done with this. Like the passion's still there now too. Even like you know, with celebrating 10 years of street corner music. With that being said now too, do you have like plans of doing like a second album by you? Because besides from Let It Go, like you don't really have like a house shoes out. You may have beat tapes, but like a actual album like Let It Go.
Nah, I mean probably not. In all honesty, who knows? I've been feeling like making beats again, but I'm not going to start making beats so I can make an album.
Yeah,
Like,
you can't force it. I know what you
I
mean.
mean, I did the album with Big Tone. We got the Big Shoes album.
Yeah, that's what I
You know what I mean?
forgot about. Yeah, yo,
Yeah,
big. Yeah, this is what I want to ask before I let you go.
but that was like the last. Big Shoes was like the last of the beats.
Oh, okay.
I mean, there might be like three left that I would maybe let somebody rap on.
So before I let you go, Big Tone was on Out of Focus, right?
Absolutely, hodgepodge.
So what's it like maintaining a relationship for that long with Big Tone and still supporting him over the obviously you support artists, but sometimes when you've been there from the start and you see them grow, like what's it like seeing it?
Fucking it's the reason you do it. You know what I mean? I don't remember a lot of meetings. I don't remember a lot of situations where I met a motherfucker for the first time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But I met Tone and 80 and Marlo when they were still called, they were going by the name. It's a really dope name for a group too. It's called University. And, they would later become Wasted Youth. And we met because I was in 31 and we had a meeting at like this elementary school by the crib. And we like they came into 31. You know what I mean? But Tone has always stayed the course and always matured. And he was just dope the first day I met him, damn near 30 years ago. You know what I mean? So we're like, we're both still here and we're both still pushing. And that's the example. You stick to it. You don't play ball. You do what the fuck you feel you're here to do. And history will tell the story.
Man, shout out to Big Tone, man, because you got a good history, Big Tone. Shout out to Big Tone.
Hell yeah. I mean
So,
that time beat is from like 1999.
oh wow, oh shit,
and Let It Go came out in 2011.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
See, it's just like that. Like we don't get to see. It's different when you actually hear the music, but you get to hear stories like that because we don't know when it's made.
Right.
So before I let you go, House Shoes, is there anything that you want to promote? I'm going to put the link to the Street Corner website below so they can cop the physical. Anything you want to let the people know before I let you go?
You know, house shoes. I'm doing my job. Fuck with the Twitch. Come through. It's a party. It's a beautiful place. Buy some records. And just don't be a piece of shit.
and yo, be on the lookout for the Out of Focus on vinyl now too. Yeah, we'll be securing our copy now too. We'll put the links to Street Corner Music and the Twitch below. Yo, House Shoes, man, you're welcome back anytime, my guy. We'll start out next time on Detroit Hip Hop.
I appreciate it, brother.
Hey, anytime, my guy. One love. So
Yeah.